This week in the Pentagon, missions of mercy. The humanitarian relief efforts of U.S. servicemen and women throughout the years are permanently recognized.
I can live on thin rations, but not without hope. Without hope, the soul dies.
Plus, lightening the load. New field gear takes pounds off a soldier's back.
What they're wearing right now is the best body armor in the world. It also requires them the protection that they need to be safe.
And
we're here at the 3rd annual GI Film Festival, where the lives and sacrifices of service members are celebrated on the big screen.
If I'm a soldier filmmaker and I have something to say about what it means to be a soldier, I mean, inevitably Hollywood is going to be a venue that I need to go through.
Welcome to This Week in the Pentagon. I'm Sergeant John Mann. U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan is expected to last at least another 2 to 4 years. That, according to the Defense Secretary in a recent primetime television interview. And as the fight for control of the country continues, so too does the buildup of U.S. troops in the region.
They are missions being carried out from the air and in battles on the ground.
War is inherently unpredictable, okay? And the enemy always has a vote.
Speaking about the war in Afghanistan in an interview on the CBS News program 60 Minutes, Defense Secretary Robert Gates described what he believes should be the Pentagon's top priority.
I want a part of this building that comes to work every single day asking themselves, what can I do to help the soldier in the field today? What can I do to make them successful in the field and bring them home safely?
Part of the interview with Secretary Gates took place in the Pentagon, the other on the ground in Afghanistan. When asked what it would take to win the conflict and bring the troops home,
I don't know what it would take. What it would take is the Afghan army growing and doing its job well. It would take the effectiveness of our own strategy and our own forces. It would take bringing better governance to the country. It'd take a lot of different things to have a finite time when we can say we're out of here.
With a new military strategy now in place in Afghanistan under President Obama and the addition of 21,000 troops to the region by year's end, Secretary Gates spoke candidly about his position.
The truth of the matter is, being Secretary of War in a time of war is a very painful thing. Every single person in combat today, I sent there. And I never forget that for a second.
For This Week in the Pentagon, I'm Marine Staff Sergeant Brian Buckwalter.
Now for a look at other news this week in the Pentagon.
Defense Secretary Robert Gates welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the Pentagon May 19th. The leaders met to discuss security and defense issues after meeting with the president at the White House a day earlier. May 20th, the Defense Secretary and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Michael Mullen, spoke about the lessons learned in Iraq during a hearing before the House Appropriations Committee. The panel is reviewing the fiscal year 2010 defense budget request and funding the war effort in Afghanistan.
These troops are flowing in now. I think we will see them make a difference, and I'm confident that they're going to do a great job.
In a news briefing May 19th, the Pentagon spokesman Jeff Morrell told reporters that the Senate confirmed former Mississippi Governor Ray Mabus as Secretary of the Navy. In that same briefing, the Defense Department announced the U.S. government will give $110 million in humanitarian aid to help refugees displaced in Pakistan.
Our goal is to help the Pakistani government relieve the suffering of hundreds of thousands of internally displaced persons.
Emergency officials say close to 2 million Pakistanis are pouring into relief camps, trying to escape fighting between government forces and the Taliban.
They are often called missions of mercy. For decades, U.S. servicemen and women have responded to major events like Hurricane Katrina and other natural disasters and provided relief to those in need. This week, in honor of that humanitarian work, a new exhibit was dedicated in the Pentagon. Air Force Master Sergeant George Maurer gives us a look.
Tuesday afternoon, the Defense Department held a dedication ceremony to officially unveil the humanitarian relief corridor inside the Pentagon. It was an idea first imagined under then Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld and finally realized under current Secretary of Defense Robert Gates.
The U.S. military is the greatest fighting force in the world, but there is another side to what they do. That side is represented in this exhibit. The suffering caused by war and natural disaster prompts a compassionate nation to respond. As these wall panels attest, it is not just fancy technology and lift capacity that make these operations possible. It is also the resourcefulness of these men and women, their desire to make something good and decent happen, even amid situations of chaos and destruction.
Colonel Gail Halverson, also known as the Candy Bomber, gave Berlin's children chocolate among chaos and was surprised by what he got in return.
They said, don't worry about us when you can't get in here. Someday we'll have enough to eat, but if we lose our freedom, we'll never get it back. Kids 8 to 14 teaching me about freedom.
Colonel Halverson has met many of those children as the years pass, and he often retells the stories told to him from those now grown children, revealing the true value of humanitarian missions.
Clouds were very low, raining, but I hear the airplanes flying, I couldn't see them. Suddenly out of the cloud came a parachute with a fresh Hershey candy bar and landed right at my feet. Astounded, he said. It took me a week to eat that candy bar. I hid it day and night. And then he looked far off and said, but it wasn't the chocolate was important. What was important was that somebody in America knew I was in trouble.
For This Week in the Pentagon, I'm Air Force Master Sergeant George Maurer.
Coming up, body armor designed to take pounds off a soldier's back. Welcome back to our program. Every extra pound carried on patrol in a combat zone dangerously decreases a soldier's mobility. Now, there's a push to lessen that burden by lightening the load. As Petty Officer Liz Murray reports, new field gear and body armor is being tested that's expected to take pounds off a soldier's back.
This is the deltoid protector, the groin protector, and the internal waistband for the side plate carrier.
It's the gear soldiers are wearing in combat these days.
What they're wearing right now is the best body armor in the world. It provides them the area of coverage that's required. It also requires them the protection that they need to be safe.
But for our soldiers, even the best is sometimes not good enough. And Program Executive Office Soldier, which provides everything a soldier wears, plans to improve on the Interceptor body armor.
The soldier can remove the deltoid, he can remove the groin protector, he can remove the yoke and collar, which you see here with this system. So you went from 31 pounds to 25 pounds.
He or she can further remove the side plates that are in the internal waistband, which brings it down to 20 pounds. The goal is to create a lighter, more maneuverable armor that suits the soldier's needs. And right now, nearly 36 soldiers are testing out 4 new systems designed to do just that, lighten the load.
They all have meet the same requirements. They have a front and rear plate, they have side plates, a quick release, as well as a modular side plate carrier. This system over here has a quick release, but as you can see, it's located on the side and you can rotate it on the left or right, depending on whether you're a left-handed fire or right-handed fire.
The quick release gives the soldier the capability to drop his body armor in an emergency. Those changes obviously leave parts exposed, and product managers say commanders can make the decision on what to wear based on the safety concerns.
You see a lot of pictures of soldiers. They're not wearing their full configuration, so they're already doing this. We've given them a modular vest that gave them that capability. Now we're going to give them one more step.
Also being tested is the Marine Corps plate carrier, which has side plates and is currently being worn by Marines in theater.
Besides the improved gear, the Army is also testing a variety of state-of-the-art equipment designed to keep soldiers protected under extreme climate changes. Petty Officer Liz Murray continues with more on one of these future systems.
It takes the load off.
It's lighter, it takes up less space, and it keeps the soldier through climate conditions of 100 degrees down to -20.
There is no right way to wear it. It's the Generation 3 extended cold weather clothing system comprised of 7 lightweight wear what you need layers.
We've got layer 2, which is the midweight underwear. We've got layer 3, which is the fleece jacket.
Designed from the skin out to keep the soldier warm in extreme temperatures in places like Afghanistan. The new system takes at least 7 pounds off the soldier's back, weighing in at about 10 pounds.
It takes up 30% less space inside his molly or his ruck that he's using. So, reducing soldier's load is always on our mind.
The system includes boots specifically designed for the rugged, mountainous terrain of Afghanistan.
Our boot is very compliant, made in the United States. There's about a 10-ounce difference in weight. Also, our boot is a little bit higher, gives more ankle support. It's a little bit heavier, a little bit more durable than this boot right here that a unit can get through the ref.
The cold weather gear goes to all deploying soldiers, and since last July, about 330,000 soldiers have received it. For This Week in the Pentagon, I'm Petty Officer Liz Murray.
Memorial Day unofficially marks the start of summer. And for most people, that means vacations, outdoor recreation, or barbecuing. But the holiday also marks the time of the year the military sees an increase in injuries and death due to non-combat related incidents. Marine Staff Sergeant Brian Buckwalter reports on what the Defense Department is doing to ensure its people stay safe this summer.
Motorcycle riding, the beach, and sports. No matter what, for many service members, free time in the summertime means getting outside. But with the fun summer brings comes a sobering fact.
Last year, we killed more on the nation's roads and doing sports-related stuff related to recreation than we were killed by the enemy in combat.
Mr. Waitman says many off-duty injuries and deaths are preventable, but education is key. So every year from Memorial Day to Labor Day, the Defense Department makes a big push to promote safety, a message he says service members need to hear.
We, by nature, recruit risk takers, and that's just not in combat or in training to go do something. That's the way that young Marine enlisted and came to us.
Instead of risk-taking, the DoD Summer Safety Campaign focuses on risk management.
All it means is being aware in that split second saying, nah, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or if I'm going to do that, maybe I should do it this way.
Many DoD installations handle their own local summer safety classes, but there are web resources that can help too. One is safetycenter.navy.mil. At the bottom of the page, click the Summer Safety 09 link for information designed to help make sure this summer is a safe summer no matter what you do. For This Week in the Pentagon, I'm Marine Staff Sergeant Brian Buckwalter.
Up next, we attend the 3rd annual GI Film Festival. Welcome back to our program. I'm here at the 3rd annual GI Film Festival held at the Carnegie Hall in Washington, D.C. The mission of the festival is to create a venue for artists who are trying to tell the story of veterans, both present and past. The 3rd annual GI Film Festival kicked off at a reception on Capitol Hill Wednesday, May 13th. Like any of the thousands of film festivals that take place every year across the country, this festival brought together films and filmmakers from all walks of life.
Young filmmakers, veteran filmmakers, they all come together. You see old movies, new movies, documentaries, true stories. I mean, it's really an incredible place for people that are part of the military, but that also want to get the word out to the world through the forum of media.
The festival screens films from big-budget Hollywood productions like Valkyrie and Taking Chance to small-budget short films born out of the simple desire to tell a good story. What sets this festival apart is one common passion: to tell the story of the American soldier.
We're the only one that celebrates the service and sacrifices of the men and women in uniform, so that's why our festival stands apart, and that's why we're proud of our festival.
Well, I think it's important that our culture and our citizens understand the sacrifice that goes into putting on a uniform.
I have such respect for it that I would never claim that I could really understand what you go through. I just have a devotion to trying to say something good about it.
Some of the filmmakers displaying films at the festival speak from experience.
There are documentaries that I did, one in 2006 and one in 2007, one in Belgium in the area of Battle of the Bulge, and one in France in Normandy.
While others, like Carol Holliday, wanted to tell a powerful story.
The stories that tend to appeal to me are stories about fathers and daughters, and so I just wanted to do a story about a father and a daughter. It was nothing to do with really like war or any of that. I just wanted to do a story, like a personal story. It's made me more aware, of the men overseas, which I hadn't thought about much before.
The film is to raise public awareness for the troops, and I've left it pretty wide open, so you can interpret it any way you want to, but I made it for these soldiers and their families to tell them they're being acknowledged and what we think about them. I needed to document the event of the wars in some way as a filmmaker, and I had to do it. I was compelled to do it.
I really wanted to, there's another side to a soldier. Every soldier is, what are you fighting for? And I think that brotherhood, between soldiers, you meet enough of these guys. You meet it, from the private all the way up to the admirals. That common thread. And you got to show, what somebody's fighting for.
It really heartens me to think that these young guys and gals would volunteer to risk their lives. How many people do that?
We think it's been a huge success this year so far. We're very pleased at turnout. We're very pleased at the quality of films we have. We're very pleased at the participation that we've received from our sponsors, as well as many of our celebrity guests who showed up to participate this year. So we're very happy with how the festival's going.
I heard something like this was going on, and I wanted to show my support for my fallen comrades and, friends of mine that I heard over there also.
The GI Film Festival is one of the fastest growing festivals in the country. As veterans continue to serve in Iraq and Afghanistan, the desire to tell their stories and honor their sacrifices will certainly continue to grow. One of the filmmakers presenting here at the GI Film Festival is Kyle Hausmann-Stokes, a student at the University of Southern California and a veteran of Iraq. He sat down and spoke with us about what it means to him to tell a story that is both deeply personal and yet one that speaks for thousands of returning veterans.
But we're going to save our questions for the end, so please sit back and enjoy the show. Thanks.
As the lights go down in the theater at the Carnegie Institute, Kyle Hausmann-Stokes watches his life play out on the big screen.
Every time I screen a film, especially like now after, it kind of conjures up some of those feelings that you've kind of been doing a good job of compartmentalizing.
Among the many filmmakers at the GI Film Festival, Kyle is one of the few who can say he's been there and done that.
I joined the Army after graduating high school in 2001. I was assigned to the 1st to the 509th Airborne Infantry at Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Kyle's passion for filmmaking began while serving at Fort Polk, Louisiana, where he used the camera to chronicle the activities of his unit.
I would cut these things together in my small barracks room on a little laptop and make little music videos, and something I thought was just fun at the time turned out to be something that my fellow platoon mates and eventually the company and battalion, these guys really appreciated because it allowed them to show their families and their friends, hey, this is what I do.
As Kyle came to the end of his enlistment, he faced an inevitable stop-loss as his unit prepared to deploy. But fate, it would seem, would have an even greater calling for Kyle.
And I was called into my battalion commander's office, and he said, I've seen your videos. I love what they do for morale. I think you really got something. So I tell you what I'm going to do, and this has never happened before, but I'm going to let you and only you get out of the stop loss. I'm going to let you ETS as planned, as per your contract. And what you need to do to hold up your side of the agreement is you need to seek out the best film school you can find. You need to graduate. You need to hone and perfect your craft. And I want you to come back and tell the soldier's story.
After several attempts, Kyle was finally accepted into the prestigious film school at the University of Southern California. But fate had another twist in store for Kyle.
And literally the same week that I received my letter from USC accepting me into the Cinematic Arts production program, I received a letter from Human Resources Commander, Uncle Sam, recalling me out of the IRR, which is something I never thought in a million years would happen. And I went on the deployment with this California National Guard unit to Iraq. The USC Film School was nice enough to keep a seat warm for me, as it were, while I was gone.
Kyle took his filmmaking skills with him to Iraq, then brought his experiences back to put them on the big screen and tell his story.
What I think is beneficial about being a soldier filmmaker is that I can present a perspective that's the perspective of, you know, a young enlisted guy in the tents, like understanding the psyche of what does it mean to be a Joe. Why I decided to make Now After, I guess it ended up being very therapeutic. It's about a young soldier who comes back from deployment in Iraq, and he's trying to reintegrate with his peers. I mean, he may be a few years older, but you know, this is where he should have been. The reason I made the film is because I was that guy, I was that troubled young soldier that did find some help at the local VA, and it's such a positive experience for me that I thought it would be beneficial to use this craft that I'm learning to make something so that other people can see that, you know, there's help out there. I've gotten thousands of emails from veterans across the nation, all different services, saying, you know, I saw your film, I am that kid in your movie, I am that kid with PTSD, nobody gets me, I'm angry all the time, and after seeing your film, it just really helped me to understand what it is that I'm going through, to diagnose it, and then ultimately to get the help that I need. So it's been very rewarding.
As Kyle nears the end of his schooling at USC, that deal he made with his battalion commander so many years ago stays with him.
From here, what I would like to do, it really hasn't changed since I was that young sergeant standing in front of the colonel's desk at Fort Polk and, you know, kind of swearing an oath that I want to tell the soldier's story. That's what I'm going to continue to do. That's the commander's intent of my op order. Ultimately, I just want to be involved in the telling of this generation's war story. You know, there's that seminal film that defines every war, and in my opinion, it's yet to be made. And whatever I can do to either make that film or be associated with the making of that film, just to give it some authenticity and to make sure that it's done correctly, that's where I hope to end up.
That's our show this week. We want to thank all those involved for their contributions. Please be sure to tune in and join us again next week as we examine top news stories surrounding the Department of Defense. I'm Sergeant John Mann. Thanks for watching. In observance of Memorial Day, we leave you with these images of flags being placed this week at Arlington National Cemetery.